If I had to start a business again tomorrow, no budget, no audience, just my laptop, this is exactly what I would do. Just a simple, structured plan to go from zero to your first consistent clients. I'm David Koslett, co-founder of Hello Social, and over the last 12 months, we've supported over 100 businesses with their marketing. And what I'm about to show you is exactly what has worked based on the results we've seen. This is specifically for service-based businesses. If you're an agency, a coach, a consultant, or you sell your time as a service, this is for you. Because at zero, the goal here isn't scale. The goal is your first 5 to 10 clients consistently. So I can talk to you about this from first hand, right? Because literally 3.5 years ago, we started the business. So when you're first starting out, we're not looking at content or ads. We're looking at clarity. So I asked myself 3 questions. Who do I help? What problem do they have? And what outcome do they want? This is straight from our Hello plan, which we introduced to all of our clients. And most people skip this step, right? Which is why their marketing doesn't land. So let me give you a quick example. Okay, we go from saying I do marketing, which is vague and unclear, to I help service-based businesses generate leads consistently without relying on referrals. That level of clarity changes everything. Next, I build a simple offer. This is straight out of Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers playbook. Not 10 services, not a full website, just one clear way to help somebody. And I ask myself, what's the fastest way I can get someone a result? That might be a strategy session, a done-for-you service, or a small fixed outcome. Either way, it's about speed. The key here is a clear timeline, a clear result, and a clear price. Because people don't buy services, they buy outcomes. I give you X and I want Y. Step 3, I'm going to go where the attention is already. I'm not trying to be everywhere and on every single platform. I want one platform with one clear offer. For most service-based businesses, this is LinkedIn. This is where you should be every single day. It's your playground. And I make a commitment to myself to show up consistently, to comment, to like, to engage, and ultimately to post, which we'll talk about in a minute. And this isn't about being perfect, okay? The whole point of this one platform is just to be consistent, okay? When you start your own business, when you start from scratch, whether it's business, whatever you're doing, right, there's always a million things to think about, okay? And we want to make this as simple and as easy for you as possible. So one platform consistently. Now we're going to talk about content. Okay, so step 4 is really creating some content. It wants to be simple and focused. All right, and I'm going to split this into 3 things for you. Problems, proof, process. I'd start posting about what my audience struggles with, right? Their pain points, what are their problems. Then I'd show the proof of who I've done it with before, why they should trust me, yeah? And then I'd show the process. How do we actually do it? Well, we do this, then we do this, then we do this. There's where I'd start with your content. Simple, easy, explain your proof, your promise, and your process. No overthinking, no trends, just useful, honest content. Step 5, and this is what I'm going to talk about, is direct outreach. Okay, now this is where most people hesitate, but I think from looking at our experience, what I did in the first 30 to 60 days from when we started the business is really transformational. That's why we got to where we were, okay, because I was direct and I went straight to the people that mattered. We're not spamming people here. We're not trying to pitch them. We're literally just trying to start a conversation. Something like, hey, I've been speaking to a few business owners about this particular topic. I wondered if you found that same issue. Or I've been speaking to people about this recently. Is that something you're working on as well? And open up that conversation. How can you get to know more people? How can you invite them to something? Maybe you can set up a webinar, or you can host a dinner. Daniel Priestley is big on this. When he first moved to London, he actually hired out a private dining area and invited 10 of his best contacts to be in that room. Who do they then see as the authority because they've hosted this dinner? Right? So there's different ways of having direct outreach. I think that's the first key. Forget about social media. Forget about ads. Forget about email marketing right now. We want to streamline a direct approach to people. How do you get through to people the fastest? You phone them. Yeah, or you text them. So your phone, your mobile phone, that is the most important collateral you have within your business, especially when you start from scratch. The more conversations you have, the more opportunities are going to come from it. It's as simple as that. Conversations lead to opportunities. So start making more conversations. Step 6, you need to have a simple sales process. You'll be amazed about how many businesses underestimate this process. All right, actually taking someone from lead or a little bit of interest right through to becoming a customer, that requires a process. Okay, so knowing this now is going to put you in a better stead. I obviously had the experience and knowledge before setting the business up. I knew we needed a sales process. So that's what took us to 10K months within the space of 60 days really quickly, because I knew what I was doing. So when someone shows some interest, I don't try and overcomplicate it. What I really want to do is understand their situation, clarify the problem, show how I can help, and then ask if it's a good fit for them. I'm not trying to make the sales process full of pressure. I'm trying to make it a working session. All right, I will have a script for this. Okay, people think, oh no, I don't want to script things. You need a sales script. Be really specific. Have a script. What are you going to say on the intro call? What are you going to say on the discovery? What questions are you then going to ask to help them make a decision? This gives you the clarity and confidence going into those calls. And it's not just so what do you think? Step 7, we're going to capture and then we're going to follow up these leads. So just like with the CRM, we want a clear spreadsheet. We want somewhere where we can put the data for free so you can follow up with your leads. And the reason we do this is because most businesses in the early stages lose opportunities simply because they don't have a follow-up process. This is where you can go to the next level. Eventually, this becomes a CRM, because the principle here is that every conversation matters. And step 8, we want to build momentum, not perfection. Okay, perfection kills any kind of growth, right? Because perfection doesn't exist, right? So we want to fail fast, all right? And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about more phone calls, more no's, right? Because eventually you're going to get to a yes. We don't need a perfect website or fancy branding or social media templates, all right? We need more conversations and clarity, because then we're going to have consistency with what we're doing. That's what creates early growth. Be consistent with what you're doing. A great book is Eat That Frog. And why do I recommend that? Because what it talks about is getting the hardest and most uncomfortable task out of the way first. So for you in this example, and for me, it was cold calling. All right, it was making 20 cold calls first thing in the morning to get through to a decision maker before I did anything else. Right, that's what it takes. You need to be prepared to put in the work, especially when you're starting from scratch. It's not easy. There's blood, sweat and tears which build businesses, and your first 12 months are critical. So if you follow these steps, it's really going to help you grow your business. The biggest mistake I see people make is trying to look established. Instead of doing the work to actually build the business, they focus on all these fancy, white, shiny object things that just really don't matter in those early days. If you're at this stage, you're starting or you're restarting and you just need a little bit of help, what I recommend is you download our 12-month marketing plan, which covers a lot of the steps which we've talked about in this video. If you want to go that step further, we cover this inside our one-to-one strategy sessions, which is an investment in your future. You leave with a practical 90-day roadmap that you can implement with confidence. There's a link below in the description if you want to apply. And if this has helped you in any way, please subscribe. We're going to be doing lots more videos on this channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.